Comparing energy-assisted liposuction modalities. There's a lot of confusion about tightening and heat versus different energy-based modalities. We figured we try to look at this a little closer and try to clear the air a little bit so people can understand exactly what's going on with these modalities. Namely, ultrasound-assisted liposuction and RF-assisted liposuction. The reason why it's important to delineate the issue about heat, whether heat's generated or how it affects the tissue, is because there is a lot of hearsay or arguments regarding the ability of these modalities to tighten skin. If all things are equal, and all heat is equal, and all energy is equal, we would have to examine the way it's delivered and the impact on the tissues, and that would differentiate the platform that's delivering that energy. Here we have ultrasound-assisted liposuction, Vaser, and this is a Vaser probe, 3-ring Vaser probe going in through umbilical incision, and it's quite clear here that even though the Vaser does generate heat and causes emulsification, the amount of heat generated is definitely not enough in this short period of time we're shooting this video, or at the very least will probably take a long time. Purpose of what we're looking at is, yes, there might be some heat generated at the tip of this probe. It's going back and forth, but you can clearly see that the tissues remain cold, and it's important to point out that this device is actually set at Vaser mode, 70% power. So even at 100% power, you wouldn't see a large difference here. So great, probably for emulsification, back rafting, but not for skin tightening, because as we know, we have to generate enough heat to cause contraction, and this is not the case as proven by this picture here, this video. This is the in-mode radio frequency device now. Has an external cutoff, an internal cutoff temperature. So we usually typically set this anywhere between 38 to 42 externally, because that's what's been proven to, a number that's been proven that you have to reach in order to tighten the dermis or the skin. Internally, it acts more of as a safety protocol. In other words, you want the heat internally. That way you get to your target goal, but the lower you set the internal temperature reading, the faster it shuts off. So it also works not only for safety, but it also shows us what's going on inside. What's important to point out here is radio frequency does not work by heating the skin, but it works by heating the septal network. So here we have the BodyTite device. It is 2 electrodes, and what we're doing is we're setting the wheel because we're going to start deep, and the wheel's set in order for the 2 electrodes to be separated and to be able to accommodate enough tissue between the 2 electrodes. This sandwiching of tissues internally between the 2 electrodes and the one externally, one internally, will actually determine which depth we are and how much tissue is getting heated. As you move more superficially, you want to close the distance between the electrodes until you get to the level approximately a couple centimeters below the dermis. Care must be taken not to drag this device under the dermis or cause any damage to the subdermal nerve plexus, but it's kind of hard to do the way the device is set up. As you can see here, this is immediately within 2 to 3 minutes, and it's very, very strong. It's nothing close compared to the previous devices, but as you can see, the heat that's generated is immediate, fast, and it's uniform in nature, which is critical not only for a surgeon who wants to save time while you're here operating, but also because you want uniform heating of the tissue of the flap. Why do you want uniform heating? Because you also want uniform contraction. Why do you want a uniform contraction? Because when you have uniform contraction and tightening, then the flap looks good, your result looks good, does not show any issues, not only with contouring, but also with the way the skin lies over the area. So uniform heating, uniform contraction, and uniform results afterwards when followed by the by suction. Here we have ultrasound-assisted liposuction versus radiofrequency-assisted liposuction. Both great devices, but different uses for them. You can see here the Vaser probe at 70%, basically minimal heat generated at the level of the umbilicus. Vaser is great for emulsifying tissues. It's great for fat grafting because it doesn't damage the fat cells. But as you can see here, you need heat to cause real contraction. So the whole thing about Vaser causing tightening, if it does, it's circumspect at the very least, because as you can see, you can have it both ways. You can have fats actually not being affected and at the same token having full contraction secondary to a thermal injury, because as you can see here, the thermal injury is minimal. Comparing it to the right to the BodyTite, big difference, and you can see the immediate heat deposition, red all the way to white, which signifies a very hot level of heat generated. But the uniformity was critical, and the uniformity uniformity is what's going to cause a uniform contraction of the flap after aspiration, and a uniform heating of the fibroseptal network is exactly what you want, so it's not spotty.